Hi everyone. So my name is Rachel Smith and I am a communication studies and women, gender, and sexuality studies double major. I'm a senior who's graduating, which is insane. um, but I'll talk to you a little bit about the major of women, gender, and sexuality studies because it seems like you're at least kind of interested. So congratulations, you have awesome taste. So to get right into it, I'll tell you two things that I think are the most important when you think of like WGS. Sometimes you look at the title and some of you may think like, oh, I know exactly what it's about. And other people might be like, that seems very vague and I don't really know like how expansive it is. Just trust me when I say it's super expansive. It's super interdisciplinary. It's not to scare you, but it's actually really awesome because it provides you a lot of flexibility. If you have any interest at all in gender, identity, social justice, um, you know, critical thought, I think especially, then this is at least complementary, but very much so something that you should consider as a major, because it crafts a worldview for you. So number one, it really changes how you look at the world, how you look at yourself. It gives a lot of vocabulary to, I think, experiences I had in high school that I didn't really realize. Like, there are so many times when I was like pissed off or angry or upset, and I didn't really know why. And learning stuff throughout WGS really taught me like how to vocalize those experiences, how to explain that. It helped my communication degree too, because it's like you really have to break things down at a basic level and make sense of them. And I think that critical thought is just like, the most important skill that I'm taking out of this. So it's something that I carry with me. I see my personal and academic development skyrocket together. And I think like as soon as you take your first women gender studies class, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's lots of instances to talk to the professor and discuss things with other students. But a lot of it is about, reassessing things and reassessing interactions you've had. And it's just so impactful and helpful, especially when you're transitioning into, freshman year and adulthood and like what those expectations look like. And number two, super practical. Like I said, it's interdisciplinary, so if you have passions in basically anything else, I would say 99% of other majors, you can fit women gender studies in, at least in some aspect. I came in as a communications major, and I was on track to getting a women gender studies minor through the Will program. And I took my first WGS class, and I marched down to Cecilia Colbeth's office. And if you don't know her, you will now. Like, you will soon. And I was just like, how do I declare a second major? And it was so easy for me. I think different fields of study are different, but women gender studies is so applicable. So there's a lot of gender crossover classes that make it easier to pair with liberal learning requirements. So if you're coming in and you're already feeling overwhelmed and you're not sure if the investment is worth it, you can take some time, but just know that that department is so passionate about what they do, and they'll definitely work with you to make it accessible to you if it's something that you're interested in. And more on practicality, I've tied so much of my projects overlapping with communications and WGS. I've done stuff on gendered political framing of female presidential candidates because my interest is in women in politics and impacts on nonprofits and that sort of thing. And when you're able to do projects on things that you care about, you produce better work, point blank, like basic stuff. So like I said, it's not something that's meant to be studied and you just sit with. It's like, let's get really theoretical and then just like not do anything with it. You're constantly learning, you're constantly reassessing, and you're better off for it. Either that looks like, calling your senator, physically going to places, which can be like pushing people out of their comfort zone, but just know that you're not alone. I think it's, challenged me in a lot of ways, but it's made it more comfortable for me to then pull other people up with me and be like, this was something I was afraid to do, but now you can too. And you're basically then living out the stuff that you've learned in class. So if you're learning about inequalities among women, basic gender, and you go protest at a senator's office or a legislator's office, and you have like this group of people behind you and you know why you're doing it, those are some of the most impactful experiences you'll have. And if you're more soft-spoken, there's so many different ways for you to apply it too. It can be as simple as, having a conversation with someone, but it's not meant to be something that you just sit with. It's meant to be something that you apply. And sometimes people come in as undergraduates and they fall in love with it and they're like, I'm going to get a PhD and teach this, which I think is awesome. I think it just speaks to how great the field is and how much people are willing to, further educate others in addition to themselves. So, worldview, practicality, things I think you should know maybe about women gender studies and TC&J in general, and just kind of some advice, because I remember what it was like to be a freshman, and I'm in a transitional period too as a senior. Don't worry too much about finding the perfect major, or finding the perfect roommate, or, finding friends your first semester. There's so many things that you can overthink, and trust me, I've done it. But you can't anticipate every opportunity that's gonna, make its way to you. And this will happen at any college you choose, but I think for me, and I think also for a lot of you, TC&J is a good fit. It's, very conveniently located if you live in New Jersey. For me, I didn't really know what I wanted to do going in. I just kind of knew what I was interested in. And I've had primarily nonprofit and government internships, and people always think I'm a poli-sci major, and I'm like, no, I'm like communications and WGS. And it's kind of a benefit to me because it's like you bring something to the table that those other people don't. It's not to say it's not as valuable, but you want to be able to market yourself as an addition to the team. And what I'll say is that if you told me 4 years ago I'd be working as a Brian Stack intern at the office of the governor while I'm waiting to graduate college in a pandemic, I would have thought you were insane. But those opportunities were not exactly linear. You just say yes to one thing, and 90% of those opportunities were in one way or another influenced by women gender studies for me. You get a great network of people. People graduate, they get jobs. One of my friends works for a senator right now. And they introduce you to others. And so it's not only something that I think has a lot of job value that a lot of people might not see, but it's also something that has a very tight-knit network of people who are dedicated to the same thing and who you find common ground with. So those are things that you think about in the long term, but as far as right now, just don't worry so much about getting everything perfect. Stay true to who you are. Don't let people push you over. Don't let people influence your decisions. You ultimately have to do what's right for you. And just know that whatever school you choose or whatever major you choose, you just have to, make the right decisions for yourself and stick with them. Because I don't think I would have been nearly as successful if I did something because it was what my brother or my parents wanted me to do. When you're doing something you're passionate about and you feel 100% comfortable in, I think you create your own success and you find those pathways to do the type of work that you want to. And I'm just grateful. I told my mom that out of everything in this pandemic and all of senior spring being canceled, the one thing I'll miss the most is WGS graduation. And it's just because so much of it has influenced my life, my professional career, how I look at personal relationships, obviously how I look at academic stuff. And that can seem kind of overwhelming, but just know that, you'll find your way. And if you just give yourself to the things that feel right, your experience at TC&J and your impact on TC&J will be so much more than you could ever anticipate or worry about.